Sprint and Clearwire extended their network sharing partnership today. That means more spectrum for Sprint and its bandwidth-hungry customers. For more, let's bring in our senior West Coast correspondent, Jon Erlichman. And Jon, tell us exactly why this deal matters so much.
Well, when you go shopping for a phone, in a lot of ways, it's like going shopping for groceries. Price is going to be very important based on what you end up buying, but also the labeling is important. If it says 50% fat, or no fat in your cookies, maybe you'll buy those cookies. Well, in the case of a phone company like Sprint, saying we've got 4G is very important, that we've got fast internet surfing that you can do. You can download video very quickly on your smartphone. That's very important to Sprint. So they've extended this deal with Clearwire, which allows them to keep saying that. But what does that really mean? It depends on who you're talking to. It certainly means that in the case of Sprint, they've got that fast technology through their phone. But there's even faster technology out there. A lot of people describe it as LTE, long-term evolution. And that's something that Clearwire is already working on and can continue to work on because it's got new money from Sprint, and then Sprint can go out and make a stronger claim down the road, hoping to get some phone customers.
Now, Jon, exactly how hard is it to build out bandwidth?
This is an incredibly complicated process. I mean, bandwidth in a lot of ways is like New York City. There's not a lot of space, but there's a lot of demand, and that pushes up pricing. And it's why you see the phone carriers fighting over what is available. It's why they're all trying to get, for example, what is available from people who have it, television stations. And it's also why, if you're a newer player in the market like LightSquared, which is trying to build out a network, you often run into challenges, technological challenges. The fact that GPS technology, some say, is affected by LightSquared's plan. So it is complicated, and for more on the technology and the phone market and the future of 4G, we are joined on the phone, fittingly, by Jon Munster, who's an analyst at Piper Jaffray, who covers this business and covers Apple. And we should ask, Jon, you're on the phone in Minneapolis tonight. What kind of phone are you using, just out of curiosity?
You know what? I got two phones tonight. I got an iPhone, which is what I'm on, but I have a backup BlackBerry, if you still know what a BlackBerry is.
And what can you tell us about 4G versus 3G? What are people choosing right now? Do they care?
They do, and it's the number two question that consumers who are buying phones ask for, is what the speed is. If you remember back to when there was edge technology versus 3G, once you go 3G, you don't go back to edge. That's the same thing. But largely right now, this is a marketing war that's going on with Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint. And these speeds, whether they claim they're 4G, were actually not quite there. Jon, you talked about LTE. That's going to be the holy grail when LTE really hits. It's probably sometime mid-next summer when there's enough availability of LTE. And that's the point where I think consumers can actually get excited about buying a phone that actually has some high-speed data.
Now, Jon, we all know that Apple hasn't gone that extra mile to 4G yet, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down iPhone sales. At what point does Apple make that next move, do you think?
It's likely next summer. Based on our contacts and the channel and the component suppliers, we believe that the next iPhone, iPhone 5, is going to be out sometime in August of next year. And if that's correct, we do believe that will be an LTE phone, so you'll see significant improvements in speed of your phone at that point.
Jon, I just want to get to some news that we're just hearing about now. We know Apple is fighting battles with other technology companies around the world. Right now we're hearing that they want an extension on a Samsung tablet ban. This is from the Australia High Court. They're going to hold off on a hearing till, looks like, December 9th. What can you tell us about what's going on with that?
There is behind the scenes here, there's a massive patent war that's going on between Google and Samsung and Apple and Microsoft, and this is just kind of the latest and most high-profile version of that. And I think it's safe to say is that there's a lot of money that's getting put to play to try to play these patent games. That's why Google bought Motorola. As far as specifics about what's going on with Samsung in Australia, I don't know any specifics, but I do know that we're going to be talking about these for the next decade because there's so much at stake around these patents. And that's, in this very competitive mobile phone market, one of the small areas that they can differentiate in.
Well, we've tackled phones, and now we've tackled tablets, and of course there's also talk of Apple TV. You've really been ahead of the curve on predicting when this might happen, and now you're getting some firmer dates from your sources in Asia on when this could happen. What are you hearing?
Exactly. I think this is really exciting. We think it's going to be end of 2012. And from a consumer, this is as big of a deal as when the first iPhone came out. The average working person watches TV for about 3 hours a day. And so there's a big opportunity for Apple to innovate in this. The latest context we have is from Asia. Back in September, we talked to somebody who is working on a prototype with Apple, and that kind of lands this new TV sometime late in 2012. So it's all but been announced by Steve Jobs in biography. So now it's just a function of time.
Now, the pricing, I believe you think, could be double what some of the products that are already on the market are. Why would people be willing to pay double the price, even if it's a great, cool Apple product?
I think initially you obviously have the Mac loyalists who'd be willing to pay. We did a survey this week with people with 2 or more devices, 2 or more Apple devices. 70% of them said that they would be interested in buying an Apple TV at double the price. So if you look at the loyalists, the people who are most loyal to Apple products, they're going to pay up for it. The key question is, you get into 2013 and 2014, are they going to be able to have a product that's going to be more mainstream price like their current products? And I think the answer is yes. They'll start high and work themselves low, exactly like they're doing with the iPhone today.
Gene, I want to give a quick plug to Bloomberg Television because we have a great app that a lot of people are using. And I have to wonder, down the road, when people are using Apple TV, are you still going to be flipping through and going to specific channels, or are people just going to be choosing apps and then turning on the television?
You're exactly right. Is that the future most likely isn't going to be channels, it's going to be apps. So you'll have your Bloomberg TV app, and you'll just start that app up, and within that app you'll have all time shifted, so there's no even reason for a DVR. Imagine that you don't even have to worry about when things are actually on TV. You could watch it live or just watch it recorded through your app. So that's there's really an opportunity for a whole new paradigm in television.
Very quickly before we go, Gene, the Wall Street Journal reported today that Google might be working with retailers on something that might be like Amazon Prime, a rival-type service. What are your thoughts on that?
This is incremental. It sounds really negative to Amazon, a Google Prime service, but the reality is Google's been in shopping for the last 6 years. They haven't impacted Amazon's business. This is going to be an evolutionary product from Google in terms of allowing consumers to see, when things are going to be shipped to them. It's not going to answer the fundamental question that consumers want when they buy online. They want to go to one site. They want to be able to buy everything under one roof, and that's Amazon. So Google doesn't solve that. Until they get a universal checkout that's available to all retailers, which they don't have today, a universal shopping cart that's available to all retailers, they're not going to be competitive to Amazon.
All right, Gene, thanks as always for your time. Gene Munster joining us on the phone from Minneapolis of Piper Jaffray. Emily, you can always count on him to answer any related technology question.
Everything, pretty much. Gene has all the answers. Thanks for that, John.